books for right now. So it's slightly slanted. Nothing I can do about that at this present moment. Okay. So a couple of things before we start. I got confirmation and email from Miss Bedford today, so a couple updates on things. Obviously, your test is Monday. Um, so a couple of things. I don't think she's told anybody this yet, and I don't know why. Um, your grade in the class, if you haven't noticed, has been changed. It is 80% tests, 20% quizzes. So homework has been taken out completely. So if you had low homework grades, great. If you had high homework grades, sorry. But it is now 80% tests, 20% quizzes, which means you definitely need to make sure you're doing well on the quizzes that you have, and you should also be submitting those quizzes. Don't wait till Monday to submit them all. That'd be a great
Speaking
idea.
of, I have a question. Where do they want us to submit them?
I'm assuming when you go into Canvas, there's a place under assignments to click on and then submit.
Wait, so we can't submit it Monday?
I just emailed mine. She said it was fine.
Okay, that works. However she wants you to do it, I don't know.
Yeah, you just email them to her.
Okay, that works. So you can scan them if you have a scanner. Take pictures, I assume. Um, however, because she really hasn't given me much information, so I'm not sure.
I did pictures and it was fine.
Okay, there you go. No, I would not suggest waiting until Monday because she can grade them and get them back to you so you can see if you made mistakes and things like that. So I would suggest getting them turned in as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah, she graded mine within 10 minutes and then told me my grade and what I did wrong. So.
Okay, so there you go. Also, because I don't think she's told anybody this yet, as far as the grade, in case you don't know, there will not be a final exam in this class anymore.
Yay, I guess.
For some of you, yay.
Really?
Um,
I don't know if that's the yay.
For other people, though, the problem is what happens if you need to replace a bad test, which is what I was worried about. So instead, what they are doing, that's why I was waiting until I got information from her, they will be dropping your lowest test grade. So for those of you, some of you, that may be beneficial because there's no final, so you don't have to worry about failing a final. For others of you, it doesn't really matter because you've got good grades on the test so far. So it really just depends on what your grades are, what that means for you. But instead of doing a replacement with the final, which I think they still should have done personally, but not my place. Ooh, is it an April Fool's joke? Quinn's good. I don't know. Guess we'll have to wait and find out, huh? Quinn, why are you so smart in figuring things out? And no, it's not an April Fool's joke, it's real. So, for the quizzes and tests, apparently you can take pictures and email them to her. Olivia's probably going to be the easiest way for you to do it. I will double check on the test and see if that's how she'll want it. I'll email her and see. But for quizzes, it's been confirmed. You can just take pictures and send it to him. Send it to her. Sorry. But yes, no, it is not an April Fool's joke. There is no final exam, and she will be dropping the lowest test grade. The quizzes were emailed to you in your Canvas email, Olivia. So check your emails from Miss Bedford, and they're attached in one of those. So if you have 3 really good test grades at this point, make sure you do well on this next test, and smooth sailing, no problems for you. If you have done bad on one test, make sure you do well on these next 2 tests, and you will be good to go. Take as long as you want and just complete them, Dayla. Just try to get them into her sooner rather than later. That way that you can get feedback from them and know if you did something wrong. We're already in the process of taking care of that. She emailed Miss Palfrey, I guess, or Miss Bedford, and they're trying to get it taken care of. I've already talked to Miss Palfrey earlier today. So we're trying to get Claire taken care of. So yes, it would be nice if someone would forward her the email to her regular email and give her the quizzes, though. I didn't think about that
Um,
until just now.
Why this 3 still isn't on Canvas?
That's because you took it late and she hasn't graded it yet.
Cool.
Yeah, she has them. I gave them to her last week. I don't know when exactly she'll have them graded. I've been told reportedly it should be today. But we'll see if that actually happens. Don't know. It's not school Canvas. It's the Gulf Coast Canvas. Like she can't get into her Gulf Coast account. Yeah, Mallory actually went to her Zoom and, talked to her for some reason.
I had to as well. She made me because my picture wasn't working because I was using my phone.
Dude, it's so early. Why did she make it so early?
I was almost I had to get dressed so I could just be on. So
Yeah, no, I did it this way for that way you guys can, just lounge around in your house and access this stuff so it doesn't, it's a little easier. You don't have to be sitting right at your computer. Kind of miss seeing you guys, but it'll be okay. Alright, so any questions pertaining to class, how it will work for the test, etc., before I move on to answering questions?
So we just take a picture and then send it to her.
That apparently works perfectly fine, so just take a picture and then email it to her for the quizzes. I will see if that's what she wants for the tests. No, you don't have to do Zoom with her.
So Monday they're just gonna send us the test at like a certain time and expect us to finish it in a certain amount of time.
The test will be uploaded into Canvas if you go into your class and look. There is, if you go to quizzes in Canvas, it says test 4. It says not available until April 6th. You'll click on test 4, assuming it will open and be available to you for whatever time. I think it's 120 minutes, I think, or 100, whatever time she's going to give you. Hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever she says. I don't know at this point. And once you go into it, you'll have that much time to take it. It'll close out, and then you'll send. I don't know if you have to upload it in here or email it to her. I don't know because she doesn't like to communicate to me greatly. 2 hours. Okay, thank you. So you'll have 2 hours to do that. And then I'm assuming you'll have to upload it into there so that you can't like spend extra time on it and then upload it later. Is what I'm assuming, but I don't know. Maybe one of you should email her because she doesn't like to communicate to me very much. Okay, so you'll upload each picture to that, and if you need help with that, I'll talk to you about it. Like see me individually, like after class, and we can talk about that. Okay, so it's in one of her emails that I don't have because she sucks. I mean, she's great, wonderful. I love working with her. Okay, yeah, it's in the email. She sent that one to me earlier today. So it says you will show all your work in a notebook, take a picture of your work, and post the file in the answer blank. So you'll have to take a picture of that work and post it into the test. Yeah, but I didn't read them all the way, Madeline. I'm lazy. I was just looking for one that said stuff about stuff that's important. Okay. Any other questions about the class as far as how anything will go? I'm not really sure, to be honest. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I don't know. Yes, we are, Miss Olivia. As soon as everybody gets their questions out the way. That's fine. I'll start at 15 and just kind of work my way up. So if anybody has any questions on 15, then move to 16. So, all right. So no more class questions, it looks like. All right. Anybody have any questions from section 15 that they want me to go over or help with or do anything about?
Can you do number 21 and 15? So, like, the problem thing?
Yeah. Okay, number 15. The x plus 2 to the negative 1/4, that one, right, Prisa?
No. 27x squared minus 24x plus 2. All over 6x plus 1 to...
You're in the wrong section, sweetie.
No, oh, that's the answer. Okay, the whole problem is a long one. It's
The
number
x plus
21.
2, see, you just said number 21. Is it 15 or 21?
It's number 21 in section 15.
Okay, you definitely said number 15.
No.
Yes. Okay, so 6x plus 1 to the third, that one.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, you're going to have to read me the problem because I don't remember it. So 6x plus 1 to the third. What comes after that?
Parentheses 27x squared plus 2 close parentheses minus parentheses again 9x to the third plus 2x close parentheses times 18, and then parentheses again 6x plus 1, and then all of that squared,
Okay.
and then divide the whole thing by 6x plus 1 to the sixth.
Okay. So what's going to be my first step on a problem like this? Somebody? Anybody? What's the first thing I'm going to do?
What's the goal for this problem again?
Factor. This is the section 15 where we're factoring this, so this is not an ellipse or anything like that.
Factor out 6x plus 1 squared.
Okay, so
Take out the 6x plus 1 squared.
okay, so a little more generic than that. Like, what's the goal? Like, how do I know how to start this problem? Not specifically on this problem, but like, what in general do I do?
Simplify the numerator.
So I wouldn't say simplify necessarily, but factor the numerator. And then, if possible, factor the denominator. Clearly, the denominator you can't do anything with, but we're going to factor the numerator. So I ignore the denominator completely. I pretend it's not even there, and I look at what do they have in common in the numerator. Well, there's a couple of things that we can look at doing. So specifically, as already mentioned, the 6x plus 1 squared. Thank you, Quinn. So factor out the 6x plus 1 squared on top. Is there anything else that they have in common?
A 9x squared.
Do they both have 9x squareds?
9x squared plus 2.
Well, you could take out a 9 from 27, right?
You can't, right?
I mean, I could take out a 9 from this,
together.
but can I take out a 9 from the 2? No. So remember, we're looking at whole things. So the first term has a 6x plus 1 to the third and a 27x squared plus 2. Can I modify the 27x squared plus 2 in any way? Like, could I factor something out? Is it factorable in any way? And hopefully we should all realize that no, it's not. Because there's nothing that goes into both 27 and 2, so I can't pull anything out of those. This is the x squared plus something, which is not a factorable form. If it was x squared minus, it might be factorable. So I can't do anything else to this 27x squared plus 2. And there is no 27x squared plus 2 in the right side, so there's nothing else that they could possibly have in common at this point. So the 6x plus 1 squared is the only thing.
Come on.
You don't got to yell, Kason. So what happens when I take out a 6x plus 1 squared to the first term? What am I left with?
Just one of those, right?
So we have a 6x plus 1
plus 1. That's it.
and a 27x squared plus 2. That doesn't go away. That's still there. What happens to the right side when I take out a 6x plus 1
I
squared?
have no idea where he is.
Kason, you might want to mute yourself, buddy.
Okay, I don't know. Above.
What happens on the right-hand side when I take out 6x plus 1 squared?
It becomes 1.
There's just nothing.
There's not nothing.
Well, it's the 9x and then the 18.
So
and that's it.
so the 6x plus 1 squared will go away because I'm taking out both of them.
Probably in his room with the door shut, the headset's on.
Kason.
Not in there either. Gone. I don't know where he is.
Okay. Alright. So, factor those out. And now what can I do?
Couldn't you just tribute?
You have to multiply through, right?
So, multiply through what or distribute what? Because those are both the same thing.
Like the 6x
The
plus
6x
1.
plus 1 to the 27x squared plus 2.
Okay, you can.
Yeah.
So simplifying the inside, that's why I was wondering what you meant. Before I do that, though, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to cancel those with 2 of those.
Oh, you could, yeah.
Yeah, because it's this times all of this divided by this. So these are 2 things I can cancel out. So the 2 up on the top, I can cancel out with 2 of them on the bottom, changing that 6 to a 4. Then at that point, I have to ask myself, well, do I need to do anything with the inside? Very much unfortunately, they want you to multiply that all out and combine all your like terms. So we will need to go ahead and do our distributive on the inside. So was that 120?
Yeah.
So 162.
Wait, I thought we do the 6x plus 1 squared and the 6x plus 1 to the 6 last, like at the last step.
It doesn't matter when you do it. I'd
Oh,
rather
so
do
you
it now.
at the end? Okay,
Yeah, I'd rather do it right now because then I have less stuff to deal with. So on top, when you multiply the 6x times the 27x squared, you get 162x cubed plus 12. I'll do the kind of keep it in order. Plus 27x squared plus 12x plus 2. The right-hand side you need to be extremely careful on. This subtraction sign, you have to watch those signs so you don't get things wrong. So 9 times 18, was that 90? Also 162. So minus 162x cubed, and then minus 36x. If I did my math right in my head, I think I did. And then all of that over the 6x plus 1 to the 4th. Okay, and then the x cubes will end up canceling in our case. We only have one x squared term, so we'll get 27x squared. 12x minus 36 is negative 24x. And then I only have a plus 2 all over the 6x plus 1 to the 4th. Okay, any questions there?
Is that it? That's the answer?
That is the answer, unless there's only one other thing we could possibly do. Anybody want to take a stab at what that would be?
Factor the top.
Factor the top. If you can factor the top, you're supposed to factor the top. I'm pretty sure it's not factorable though. You should always look to see if it's factorable. Clearly, it's not going to turn into a 6x plus 1, even if I was to factor it. So if anything, you would lose 1 point if it is factorable and they want you to. But about 99% of the time, I'd say the top's not going to be factorable at that point. Any other questions on that one? Okay. Any other questions on section 15 on any of the problems? Number 16. Okay. So, does anybody have the book open that can read me number 16? Or it written down somewhere? Take that as a note. Okay, x minus 2 to the negative 1/5.
Can you do 15?
I'm doing 16 and then I can do 15.
Okay.
Do you have the problems written down by chance that you could tell me what they are? Because now I forgot. 15x plus 2. I think that's what it was. X minus 6 to the third, 5x. X minus 6 squared, 1/3. X plus 2, 3/4 and 7. Oh no, I almost ran out of room. Should probably start a little more left. Okay, so this is number 15 or 16. One of those. 15, 16. Oh crap, they look very similar. Did I write the problem down right? X plus 2 to the negative 1/4, 1/2. X minus 6 to the third, 5x. X minus 6 squared, 1/3. X plus 2 to 3/4. Okay, yeah. So this is number 15. Do you mind if I do 15 instead of 16 since I already wrote it, Abby? It's pretty much the same thing. Oh, sorry, Kason, I can unmute you now. I'm assuming you're back. Okay, you're unmuted. You can talk again, Kason.
Okay, good.
You were having conversations with your mom, so I just went ahead and muted you for safety.
Oh, whoops.
I tried telling you, but I don't think you were near.
No, it says I'm muted, but I thought I was still muted.
What's
Never
up,
mind.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Oh, God. Okay. Anyway, so what's my first step on this problem going to be?
You could take out the x plus 2 to the. I can't read the end part.
That's at 3/4 on the right.
3/4. Okay, you could take out x plus 2 to the negative 1/4 power.
Okay, somebody else tell me what else we can do. So that's one of our factors. What else can we take out?
1/3. Wait,
Yeah.
no, never mind.
Also, I said somebody else. Thank you, Kason.
No one's talking.
I know. That's why I'm waiting for them before I start calling on them randomly, because I will start doing that. They know this.
X minus 6 squared.
So we have an x minus 6 squared. Thank you, Miss Maddie.
Wait, couldn't you multiply the 1/2 times the 5x?
I mean, you can. We'll do that in a second.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else that they have in common?
Is that just a 7 at the end?
Yeah, it's a 7.
Okay.
Do they have anything else in common? The answer is no.
Yes. Wait, what?
No, because this is a 1/2
about
and a 5x, which could turn into 5 halves x. This is a 7 and a 1/3, which is 7 thirds. 7 thirds
what
and
about
5 halves
the
don't have
x
anything in
minus
common.
6?
I already have that,
The
x minus 6 squared.
Where? Oh, wait, it's like
Okay, you're that far
you
behind.
aligned
Wow,
it.
that's really far behind. Might want to refresh your page.
Yeah.
That might help if you refresh your page, I don't know. Okay, so what happens if I take out an x plus 2 to the negative 1/4 out of x plus 2 to the negative 1/4?
Nothing. 1.
So be careful, don't say nothing because it's not nothing, it is a 1, but we don't need to turn it into a 1 because I have other stuff. So don't ever just get rid of it, it turns into a 1. So technically it's
So
1 times. Well, I'm not messing with the
x
1/2. And then the next part is the x minus 6 to the third. If I take out x minus 6 squared, do I have anything left?
yes.
What would that be then, Brisa?
And x minus 6 to the first.
Correct. So x
Yeah.
minus 6. I'm not messing with the 5x, so the 5x will stay for now, and then we'll mess with it in a minute. So now I move on to the second part. I have an x minus 6 squared, and I'm taking out an x minus 6 squared, so what happens there?
It becomes 1.
Becomes 1, so I don't really need to write anything. I'm not messing with the 1/3, so I can put a 1/3. If I have x plus 2 to the 3/4, and I'm taking out an x plus 2 to the negative 1/4, what do I have
It makes
left?
1, right?
Why does
It's
it make
just the
1?
one
Like, I don't know, it just makes 1.
because the 1/4 turns into a positive. Because a negative times a negative is a positive, and then you add the 1/4
Oh,
plus the 3/4, so it's
right.
just 1,
That's
right?
right.
Very good. So we have to remember when I'm factoring, we are dividing. So if I factor out an x plus 2 to the negative 1/4, this is that operation when it shows up on the screen bottom left. You are dividing them. That's what factoring is. So since they have the same base, what do I do to the exponents when I'm dividing?
Subtract.
You would subtract them in which order? Because it's very important.
Top.
That is good. So negative 3/4 minus negative 1/4.
I don't know like how the tests are gonna like.
We went over that earlier. I can go over it again at the end of class for you, but. So we would get an x plus 2 to the first. So I'm going to put that right here. And am I messing with the 7 at the end back there? Somebody? Anybody? Am I messing with the 7?
No.
So just copy it down. Okay. Now at this point we need to clean up the inside, multiply everything out, do any distributives that we need to. So I'm going to rewrite this real quick right below this as 5 halves x and rewrite this as 7/3 x plus 2. You can do that rewrite pretty much at any point you want, and it will make things a lot easier at this next step. And I'm not going to rewrite these because I'm lazy, so that comes down with it. So now when I do my distributive on the inside, I get 5 halves x squared minus 15x plus 7/3 x plus 14/3. And then I'll go ahead and rewrite them now. Negative 1/4. Okay. Combine any like terms. So we get what, these two. So this turns into 45/3 x. If you get a common denominator for the 7/3, so we get 5 halves x squared. Was it 38 thirds x plus 14/3. I'm assuming they probably write their answer without any fractions. Is that the most likely common issue? I forgot my squared. Is that the issue that we're having with this problem? Yeah, okay. Alright, so the problem being is that all of these fractions in here, they don't like leaving these fractions. So we got to ask ourselves, how can we get rid of them? The easiest way to do this is to turn them into common denominators. So what is the common denominator between 2 and 3? I need you people paying attention. What's the common denominator between 2 and 3?
6.
Thank you. So I'm going to change these into 6's. So this is what, 15 over 6 x squared. Was that 74 6x plus 28 over 6. Now with them all having a denominator of 6, what I can do, and I'm going to have to erase the top at this point and kind of start working my way back around. So at this point what I can do is I can factor out a 1/6. So I have x plus 2 to the negative 1/4 and x minus 6 squared. And then here I can factor a 1/6 out of all of this, leave me with 15x squared minus 74x plus 28. So basically I just factored out of the denominator, so that's why it's a 1/6. Okay. And then last thing we can't remember, or can't forget, this being negative is not acceptable. We do have to bring that out, as well as I'm going to bring the 1/6. So we get x minus 6 squared, 15x squared minus 74x plus 28 over 6x plus 2 to the positive 1/4. Remember, when you bring that down, it will turn into a positive 1/4. And then very unfortunately what happens in this problem is what's in the brackets there, that is factorable. Remember I told you about 99% of them aren't factorable. Very unfortunately this ends up being one of those ones that is. So you just have to check that for being factorable. That is not a very nice problem either, to be honest. So it does factor. So I've showed you a couple different techniques to factor. You can do it any way you want. You can do the AC method. You can do the slide and divide technique. It doesn't matter. But always try to factor that. I think it ends up, I'm not going to lie, just to save a little bit of time, look at the answer. So what is it? 3x minus 14 and 5x minus 2. Minus 14, 5x minus 2. X minus 6 squared over 6 x plus 2 to the 1/4 ends up being the answer. So don't forget just at the end there to try to factor that. So you can use any method you want. You can use slide and divide, AC method, the box method. I don't really care. I know she doesn't care which method you use to factor that, but you do have to check to see if that's factorable. And this unfortunately is one where that happens. So any questions on that one?
Yeah, it sort of makes sense.
It's pretty much the same thing. The only difference on this one, honestly, than the other ones, being the fractions on the inside. Again, I doubt that you're going to get one like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's probably going to work out to be a little nicer because they're not trying to punish you. They're just trying to see, can you factor. Now, is it possible that you get one like that? Yes, 100%. Is it likely? I would say no, because that's just punishing for no reason, to be honest.
There's a lot of room for error.
Yes. So just be careful. That's the best thing I can tell you.
Yeah.
Honestly, be very slow and methodical about doing it. Again, the part with the fractions and being able to factor 15x squared minus 74x plus 28. I'm not going to lie, if I just look at that, I'm going to think it's probably not factorable because it doesn't look like it. So I doubt you'll get something quite to that level. It'll probably be smaller numbers on the inside thing to where you can see if it's factorable or not. Probably won't have fractions most likely because that's just complicating the problem for no reason. That's not testing can you factor. That's saying, hey, I'm going to throw something really hard at you. We tend not to do that, but I can't guarantee. So just make sure you practice those. There's a couple with the fractions in it. 14, 15, and 16 all have those fractions in it. So make sure you practice those just to be on the safe side. Okay, anything else from 15?
No.
The 16 is the exact same thing. How about you send me your work for 16 and I'll help you to save time because that'll take me like 10 minutes to do that one problem. All right. I know Olivia has some questions from 16. Anybody else have questions from 16 real quick? We'll go a couple minutes over since I took away from you guys at the beginning. If you need to leave, obviously you can go because I know class is over. I don't know if people have timed on other classes or anything. So Olivia, what's your question on 16? And if anybody else has questions on section 16, I'll answer a couple real quick. Oh, Olivia's not here anymore. Oh, wait, she's just not in Discord. That's right, she's on the stream. Number 13. Sure. Okay, so it gives you the foci and the vertices, and we're trying to write the equations. So 5 and 6.
Wait, was that number 15 or 16?
This was number 15.
Okay.
Yeah, 15 and 16 are almost identical. So when I was looking at it, I just copied the wrong problem down on accident. Okay, so on number 13 in section 16, they're giving you the foci and the vertices, and they want the equation. So the foci are plus or minus 5, 0, and the vertices are plus or minus 6, 0. So first thing I would do is kind of put that on an XY just to kind of get an idea of what's going on. So your foci would be like here, and your vertices are here. Something along those lines, close enough. And then it's going to do something like that. It's terrible, but close enough. So the first thing we got to ask ourselves, what do we need to write the equation of a ellipse? So we can't forget our equation of ellipse is x minus h squared over a squared plus.
Yeah, it's a, and then it has to equal 1.
Very good. That's correct. So the x minus h squared over a squared plus the y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. So we need.
Which lesson is this?
This is 16. So that tells you, since we know we have 2 vertices and 2 foci, that means one of them is at positive 5, 0, the other one's at negative 5, 0. And then for the vertices, one is at 6, 0, and one's at negative 6, 0. That's what that plus or minus means inside of there. Because you have to have 2 of each. Okay, so what information do we need to write the equation of an ellipse?
The center.
First thing is we need the center, definitely. From the information given with the foci and the vertices, can we find the center?
Yes.
Okay, then what is it, Brisa?
0, 0.
How did you get that?
Because the vertices.
Define a little bit better than the vertices.
Well, it's in between the vertices, and it's 6 away from 0, and the other one is away from 0 also.
Be a little more specific than between
because
the vertices.
0, 0 is literally the center of the vertices.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is directly midway in between, or so you gotta be careful just saying in between, because technically the foci are in between the vertices as well. So it is
Oh, you
literally
can.
right in the middle.
Couldn't you find it from the foci too?
You can. So either one of them. So it's directly in the middle of the vertices or the foci. So our center in this case will be 0, 0. So we have x minus 0 squared and y minus 0 squared. We know it's always equal to 1. Now we just need to fill in our a and our b. Somebody else, what is our a value? Or not necessarily what is our a value. How do we find a?
You can't.
You
I don't know.
can. I haven't picked on Gretel in a while. Gretel, how do we find a? Or what is a? I like picking on Gretel.
I do not know.
You don't have to yell at me, jeez.
I was yelling, sorry.
You're fine, sweetie. What is the a value? What does it represent? Do you know that?
Hold on. Let me go back to my notes.
It's the X,
I actually remember
right?
how to do this.
Wouldn't it be 6 or 3? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. So remember, a is half the length of the major axis. So do we know how long the major axis is?
12.
I was about to say.
Who asked how do you know it's 12? Was that Brandon?
That was Kason.
Kason?
No, that was
that's
Jack.
Jack. I know the difference in your voices.
That was Jack's.
It was really quiet. That's why I couldn't tell if it was who it was. So the major axis, remember, will be the from the one vertex to the other. So your major axis goes from 6, 0 to negative 6, 0, or vice versa.
12.
So that length is 12. But remember, A
Is 12 squared.
is only half of that. A is the distance from the center to one of the vertices. So if the whole length is 12, A then is 6.
24. Wait, what?
Dude,
Okay, that makes sense.
Kason, if
How
the
is
whole
it
length
20?
is 12, how can half of it be 24, dude?
No, because it's squared.
I'm not squaring anything yet. I'm finding A.
Okay, that's A.
The length of the major axis is 12. A is half the major axis. So A is 6. 6
So-
squared is then 36.
Yeah, how'd you get 24?
Don't know.
Because I thought it was like 12 and 12. I didn't think it was 6 and 6. Never mind.
That's 144.
Still not squaring it, buddy.
Rachel, go back on mute.
Kason,
Shut
stop
up.
giving bad answers.
Exactly.
Brisa, shut up. All right. How do I find B, though? What is B? If A is half the length of our major axis in this case, what is B?
Half the length of the minor axis.
Right. However, I don't know where those points are. I don't know where these top and bottom points are. So I can't do it that way. There's a different way that we can do it. So what have we not used so far that they gave us?
Foci.
We've not used
C.
the foci at all, which, thank you, Brisa, helps us get our C value. We do know our C value, just like our A value, is one of them. So from here to here is C. So we know our C value, so C I can do over here, equals 5. We have that A was equal to 6. We need to get B. How are A, B, and C related in an ellipse?
Wait, no. I forgot.
It's like C squared equals A squared minus B squared, or B squared minus A.
Correct. So an ellipse is the minus one. So in this case, A is our major axis, so we know it's going to be bigger. So we can do that. It's the A squared minus B squared one. Remember, as pointed out, you can put the absolute values around them and do all that kind of stuff. So we get that 5 squared is equal to 6 squared minus b squared. Solve that out. You get that b squared is equal to 11. I don't need the actual value for b because when I put it in the equation, it is b squared. So I can just take that 11 and put it over there. And there's your equation.
Wait, so would you ever know, like, before finding C, could you know what B was?
No. Not in this case, anyway. In other cases where they give you different information, yes.
Okay.
But since they gave us the foci and the vertices, the only way to find B is to use the A and C values.
Okay.
Okay. B is the square root of 11, Olivia, but when we go to put it in the equation, it's B squared. So I don't need to have the B value. We're not actually asking what the B value is. We just want to write the equation. Right. Any other questions for that one?
So that one you just write the equation?
Yep, they just wanted the equation. Given the with the given information, write the equation in standard form.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions about that one? All right, then I will stop it there, and we'll pick up on 16 to move forward starting tomorrow. So make sure you have your questions and stuff ready if you have them, and make sure you guys are doing your quizzes.